We have a new moon in Cancer coming up on July 5th, so get ready for all the feels. And of course, I'll be talking in this video about how to use those energies and more, because there's some extra special things going on with this new moon. So we'll be talking about how to use those to benefit your writing practice. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Johnny. I'm a published fiction writer, a retired adjunct writing professor, and I teach fiction writing and screenwriting to adults in custody. I call myself a word witch. I believe I'm on this earth to heal the world through story, whether it's the ones I write and tell or the ones that I help you write and tell. I'm new here on YouTube, so I would greatly appreciate any likes, shares, and subscribes so I can continue to grow this channel so that the YouTube algorithm loves me, because my goal is to reach as many people as possible. Because as I always say, stories can heal the world, so let's do it together. And I love helping people write, whether it's teaching them, supporting them in any way I can. And before we get to this new moon in Cancer action that is coming up, I want to mention some news about my Alchemy of Writing membership group. So it is July 1st. As I've been saying, the price goes up today. So the founding member price has been $18 a month. Today it goes up to $28, unless, as long as we're in Cancer season, you can still get the founding member rate if you're on my email list. So if you are not, and you would love to get that founding member rate, which will go away when we move into Leo, you can check the link in the description and get on my email list, and also get my free offering to you about the first 4 steps in conjuring and nurturing your writing practice. So I would love to see you there. I'm very excited about what's happening with the membership group. So very quickly, what you get with it, you get 1 meeting a week online. We get together and we write in silence. There's a live Q&A every month. I've specifically designed this membership group and this community that I'm building for people who are sensitive. So that's empaths, intuitive, HSPs, neurodivergents, all of those people, and of course everyone else are welcome. But I am designing this community very slowly and deliberately, because I'm really wanting to very intentionally think about what I create and what I offer you, because I have something very special in mind about what I'm wanting to build. And basically, it's a movement to heal the world through stories. So if you believe that, you're likely someone I would love to have in the group and who would benefit from the group. So the new announcement for this month is that I've been working on creating a community. I've been trying to find the right platform for it. Facebook was absolutely out. That space really rattles my nervous system. I can't be on there, and I wouldn't want to force anybody in the community to be on there. I've looked at other platforms like Discord and Slack. Those, I can kind of have more control over how I design it, but I found a new platform that I'm very excited about. It's called Heartbeat, and that's what it is for. It is a community building platform. And so I've been working on getting that up and going, and the people who are already members will be invited by the end of this week to join in there. And the membership right now is very small because I've been kind of quiet about putting it out into the world. I'm going to start doing some more deliberate marketing now, but if you want to get in on the founding member price, before we go into Leo season, $18 a month, you not only get the weekly meetings, the live Q&A, and the new community that I am adding this week. You will also get the Alchemy of Writing course. When I finish it this month, you get that for free. And you get any and all other upcoming offerings, as long as you stay a member, for free or at a deeply discounted rate. Whatever rate you register or sign up with, you maintain that for the lifetime of your membership. Okay, so I'd love to see you there. Link in the description for more info and to register. All right, let's get to this exciting new moon in Cancer. I love new moons because they're just all about fresh starts and kind of turning a page. And who doesn't need that? I need that on a daily basis. I think it's really good for us all to kind of hit refresh and think about what it is that we are wanting to accomplish and create in our lives. And I especially love this new moon because it's in my sign, Cancer. I just love Cancer energy because, I am it. I live it. And I love being around other Cancers and other water signs and just anyone, honestly, who is intuitive and feels a lot and just lives their life through this lens of emotion. For us writers, it's really, I think, good to be a Cancer because we're just very intuitive, right? We see things and then we can channel all of that we see that a lot of other people don't into our writing. And this is why I've created the community I was talking about out for empaths. And obviously all other signs can also be very intuitive and empathic. It's far more complex than our sun signs. But I really gravitate towards those kind of deeply intuitive people. And I love new moons like this because then I just kind of get to swim in this very familiar energy. So let's talk about how you can use this energy to enhance your writing practice. And I'll talk about a couple of other really important things that are happening that are supporting this new moon, and it's really, really exciting. So for this video, for this new moon in Cancer, I went to one of my favorites on YouTube, and that's Jimmy, and his channel is called The Tarot Ship. So what he does is he takes the astrology and then he does monthly, weekly, yearly, bi-monthly readings for each sign based on the astrology. He does a Celtic cross tarot reading. And he's really fascinating and fun, so fun, and I really love following Jimmy and watching his videos because no matter what's happening, he's very honest about what's happening, but I never leave his videos feeling dread. I always feel uplifted and positive and reassured. And so I highly recommend him. I will put a link to his channel in the description as well. One of my all-time favorites. All right, so as I said, new moon in Cancer, all about feelings, all of the feelings, but mostly about love. And this is great for us writers because, as I always say, honoring your impulse to write and following through and doing it is absolutely an act of self-love. So the cool thing about honoring your writing impulse and showing yourself that love that no one else really can give us, right? The love that comes from within. It doesn't stop there because then when we write and we get our work out into the world, it spreads it to other people, it changes them, it makes them feel validated and seen, and that heals them, and they can spread that further out into the world to other people that they meet and talk to and have relationships with. And so it's just this fabulous, magical ripple effect that we writers create when we put our work out into the world. And it all starts with us getting our butts in the chair and doing the writing and not waiting for inspiration. So it's really great when we have energies like this in the cosmos to support our doing that, because granted, it's not always easy to get our butt in the chair. Like this morning, I did dishes instead of sitting down and writing. And eventually I got to the writing, but I found myself putting it off by doing dishes. And I don't have a dishwasher, and so I don't love doing dishes, but I chose to do that instead of write. And it's not uncommon for writers to do that, you know, cleaning the house instead of writing. So when we have these energies like this that can really support us in our writing, we really, I think, need to grab a hold of it and take advantage of it. So Jimmy says this is a very strong new moon for a couple of reasons. And those reasons are, believe it or not, Saturn and Mars. So Mars will be sextiling Saturn when the new moon hits. So why is this important? Well, these two planets are considered malefic planets. Well, what does malefic mean? Generally, it means bad or negative or stressful. So how in the world could this be helpful to this Cancer new moon? Well, here's how. Think first about Mars being forceful and aggressive and warlike. It just has this fiery energy behind it that's just about moving forward and getting shit done. It can be seen as, like I said, war and conflict and aggression. And then Saturn is known for bringing harsh consequences. So think about the Saturn return when you were late 20s, late 50s. Think about those times in your life and what happened. Saturn is all about dismantling so that we can rebuild. But, and this is a big but, because they're coming together at the new moon, they're kind of agreeing to agree right now. Because typically that would not be the case, but they're sextiling. So this is creating some harmony between them. And so that means that these two forceful planets, these two entities together that are harmonizing, it's creating this kind of cooperative effect for this loving new moon. So what could be more awesome than that? I'm very excited about this. So these two forceful planets who are cooperating right now, any intentions that we set at this new moon will be even more supported by them. Whatever seeds you plant at this new moon, these two somewhat ferocious planets will be opening doors for you and making things easier. Think of it like this. Think of a mama bear ferociously loving and protecting her cub. That's what Saturn and Mars are doing with this new moon. This luscious, lovely, ooey gooey feeling new moon is supported by this like ferocious, I'm gonna help you energy. And this is amazing, amazing, because consider that Cancer is a very feminine energy. And so you have this really nice juxtaposition of this loving feminine energy and this kind of masculine, let's move forward and get things done that we want and desire. So think loving Cancer, think forceful, energetic Mars, and let's demolish and rebuild Saturn. That's pretty cool. So how might this look for your writing practice? I see this as a full-on change of scenery kind of energy. Is there something that you want to drastically change in your writing practice? So it could be your space, the space that you work in. So I will be setting an intention. I have a goal for the end of this year, the end of 2024, to move. Not just out of this apartment, out of this state, into another state with a drier climate. And so I will be setting that intention on Friday the 5th. Because that will greatly impact my writing practice, and I'll have a new writing space just by default, right? So if you've been wanting to, or think about it, do you need to change your writing space? Not that you need to move across states or countries. If you'll be staying in the home that you're in, can you reconfigure your writing space itself? Whether you have a room that's devoted to writing, whether you write at the end of your kitchen table or your dining room table, is there some way you can rearrange that space to kind of stir up the energy in a good way? If not, can you add objects or talismans that will bring you good luck and better energy to the space? Can you use feng shui to change things in the space, even subtly, that will allow for better flow? Can you switch up your writing schedule? If you usually write in the morning, can you write later at night, and vice versa? It could be that it's time for you to break through a barrier that has held you back from submitting your work on a regular basis. So it's time to ditch the heel dragging, it's time to ditch the doubting, and it's time to ditch perfectionism. And actually, as I'm talking about this, I'm thinking maybe I will do a video in the near future about how and where to submit your work, because I know there are a lot of people who they write, and then when it comes time to submit, they're not quite sure how or where to do that. So I'll do a video about that in the very near future. It could be that you join a new writing group or community like Alchemy of Writing and commit to getting more serious and more intentional about creating a writing life, to commit to your impulse to write and to growing a whole new level of self-love through your writing practice. It could be that you finish your novel or a short story and you hire an editor so that you can really get it polished so that you can submit it. Or maybe you will finally start the process of looking for an agent. And this could be anything associated with your writing that feels really big and important to you. Something that you keep putting off and have been thinking, oh, I'll get to that eventually, or oh, I'm afraid to do that. Now's the time. And if you start doubting it, come back to this video or any of my other videos and just know that I'm always supporting you. I always believe in you, and I always will support the fact that the world needs your stories. So I would love to know in the comments what comes to mind for you. Not only because it will help the algorithm on my channel, which I'm always striving to do, because I do truly want to grow it and make a difference, but it will also make your wish, your desire, your goal that much more real. We can write it on a piece of paper at home, but there's something about sharing it with other people that, for me anyway, that makes it not just feel real, but just feels like, okay, now I've said it, now it's going to happen. And that really does not fail me. It's almost like for me, once I know people are watching, which, not that I think everybody's watching everything I do. I mean, that's not ego talking. It's more a trick I play in my brain. When I know that I have expressed to other people that I'm going to do this thing, then I sort of feel beholden to myself to make it happen. And of course, I want to say this. There's no shame if you don't accomplish the things that you write down or that you put in the comments by a certain time. Not for me anyway, ever. I bristle a little bit over this accountability term that's used these days, getting accountability partners or accountability buddies or needing accountability. I just am not on board with that, because we're all adults. I think we're all accountable to ourselves. I'm more about attainability and supporting, because look, life is complicated. Writing is complicated. All we can do is our best, but it's the acknowledging of our writing desires and putting words to them and telling other people that makes them a reality. And I won't go down this rabbit hole, but I'm not suggesting that we talk through all of our story ideas with people. No, we need to keep those close to us. We need to keep those sacred until we know it's time to share them. But I'm talking general goals and desires, like I want to finish my short story, The Waitress. That's one of mine. That's a goal for me this month or with this new moon cycle. And like I said, I really like using the word attainability rather than accountability. It just feels a lot more humane and forgiving and hopeful. Accountability feels like there's potential for something punitive, like I'm holding you accountable. No. But if we talk about and put into words for other people to see what we want to attain, and knowing that they are supporting us in any way they can, and that's why I'm here. That's why I'm creating a community of aspiring and intermediate writers who are sensitives, because I want to support with compassion and kindness. I think of it like this. You know the quote by Norman Vincent Peale, "Shoot for the moon. Even if you miss, you'll land among the stars." And that's how I think of attainability. It's like desire something big, 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 and go for it. And maybe it takes you longer than you thought it would. Big deal. Maybe along the way you find, oh no, there's actually something better, something bigger that I want. Then go for that. Great. To me, it's all the same thing. None of us is on a linear path to anything. Nothing. And because we have creative minds, we do digress sometimes. But sometimes those digressions lead us into some really valuable places. So please, please share in the comments your intentions you want to set, and you can be as vague as you like. All right? I never would ask anyone to divulge anything they're not comfortable divulging, especially if it's too soon. So tell me in the comments, what are you shooting for? I really would love to know, truly. What new chapter in your life or your novel do you want to grow? So plant your writing intentions with seeds of love during this time, with that mama bear protective energy. Also with this Cancer new moon, there's a focus on relationships, of course. So as I always say, the way we treat our writing practice is a reflection of our degree or commitment to self-love. And granted, your writing practice is not the only way. I would never claim that, but it is a way that we can realize that self-love that we all deserve, and which I think is a lifelong journey to really achieve self-love. That's why when my kids were little, I always joked, and some people thought that I was going to grow people with giant egos, because my joke always was when they were little, like I'm talking toddlers, you know, pre-grade school, when they'd walk in the room, I acted like a movie star walked in, and it would make them smile so big. And I can tell you now, my kids are grown-ups. They don't have huge egos. They're some of the kindest, gentlest people that I know. And I was just able to spend a few days with them all. Two of them live here, one lives in Nashville, and they were all able to be here, and we got to celebrate more than just one single day, and we were all together. And I always used to tell them, you're my stars, and I treated them like stars. And I did that because I knew that the world is full of people who will do everything it can to drag us down, to drag them down, to knock us all down. So I wanted them to have this really strong foundation of just feeling like they were the absolute end-all be-all to me. And they were, and they still are. So Jimmy likens this time to that feeling of having a baby lying on your chest, or your pet, or any living thing that means so much to you. That heart-to-heart connection and that feeling of that energy just going back and forth. And like he talks a lot about sometimes at this level of feeling love and joy to the point that you could almost cry. That's what we will have these next 2 weeks. And I just hope you take many, many moments over these next 2 weeks to really bathe in that and soak it in and use it for yourself and share it with others. So I love that analogy so much of this, that I remember having my babies on my chest and that feeling, and now it's my kitty, right? My kitty Iris, when she comes and snuggles up with me. So how can you, in your writing life, translate that to your writing practice? Will it be through your impulse to write and doing it more often? Will it be with finally starting to write again after a dry spell, or getting back to your novel or short story that's been sitting there for a while? Will it be through showing more compassion and love to your characters, maybe even your antagonist? How can you show up in this fiercely loving way to your practice and your characters and yourself, while staying true to yourself? Because sometimes, especially if we're very sensitive people and we're very giving and loving, it can be very easy to let ourselves get lost. And so even though I always encourage people to write as much as possible, there's also a balance with that, right? We have to get out and we have to live life, and we have to be around other people. We have to go on walks. If you haven't heard me talk about my writer's walks, those are very important to me. I'll do a video also sometime soon on the correlation between walking and writing. There's a ton of science science behind it, and I find it really fascinating. So how can you fiercely show up for yourself in your writing and your characters and stay true to yourself? Think about what pulls at your heartstring in life and in your writing and in your characters. So I'll give you an example. I mentioned in a recent video about finishing your first draft how I wrote 5 drafts of my novel, Miranda's Garden. And it wasn't until the 5th version of it that I finally grew some compassion for one of the main antagonists. I don't know why I didn't before. I really wasn't bent on making him a villain at all, but something clicked in my mind where it came to him, and I realized that I needed to show a little bit more about why he was behaving the way he was. And when I allowed myself to do that, oh my gosh, my heart grew so much in exploring that character, this very difficult, some people would call abusive character, and really looking at what was beneath the surface for him and who he was deep down in ways that he didn't even know. And so this is what I love about writing antagonists, because, you know, as I'm sure you've heard, or if you haven't, there are several quotes out there, but the gist of them is that every antagonist is the protagonist of their own story. And so I really wanted to understand this character, even though he was absolutely oblivious to himself. I, as the writer, the creator of him, the allower of him, because sometimes I feel I just I allow my characters to be. I don't create them. I don't see myself as godlike in that way with writing and developing characters. It's more like they rise up in me and then I allow them to be who they are. Again, sort of like raising kids. So maybe it's time to look at one of your antagonists and really explore them more deeply during this time that's just packed with this ferocious, you know, mama bear kind of love. Jimmy says this new moon is also really great for travel, which I found great and really coincidental because I just did a video last week, I think, on how travel can enhance your writing practice. So you might want to check that out too. And let me know in the comments if you have a trip planned soon, whether it's for, you know, a writing getaway or if it's simply a trip to just, you know, give yourself a change of scenery and get out of the day-to-day grind for a while. Because like I say in the video, it doesn't matter the purpose of the travel or how far it is. It always impacts and influences our writing because it opens our minds in so many different ways. I'll tell you what I'm doing right on this new moon. I don't have plans to leave town, although I'm open if something would come up. What I will be doing is this weekend is the annual Blues Fest along the waterfront. I will be going to, there's a blues cruise, then I'm going for a full day and just listen to a bunch of blues and Zydeco, and it's going to be great fun. And I have no doubt it's going to refresh my brain, somehow impact it, whether it's now or 5 months from now when I write a story about something that got triggered in my creative mind while I was there. And I really like this whole idea of traveling and moving because, as Jimmy points out, Cancer represented in tarot is the Chariot card. And this is Jimmy's interpretation of it, and I really like where he's going with this, so I want to explain this to you. So if the Chariot card is Cancer, it's also associated with the number 7. So why is 7 significant? Well, for so many reasons. In numerology, 7 is about introspection, intuition, and creativity. And 7 is an important number if you think about it. We have 7 days in the week. There are 7 chakras, which I based my writing through the body method on. In the math world, 7 is the only number that we can count on both hands that cannot be divided or multiplied within the group. So it's a rebel of sorts, okay? Oftentimes people think of Cancers as these quiet, demure beings, and we are, but we're sitting back and watching and we're plotting. Not in an evil, vengeful kind of way, although maybe we have thoughts like that. Generally out in the world, and sure, we have pinchers and hard edges, we can get cranky, but it's all because we get wounded so easily, which I know irritates people, but whatever. Then I'm not for you, right? But Cancers are rebels, and we oftentimes, our rebellions are very quiet, which is why I have this quiet community that I'm quietly building so that we can change the world with stories. It's a very Cancer-like thing to do, and I didn't realize that until I watched this reading that Jimmy did. The Bible says that the world was created in 6 days and the Creator rested on the 7th day. In the book of Revelations, there are 7 churches, 7 seals, 7 trumpets, and 7 bowls. The earth has 7 continents. We hear about the 7 wonders of the world, 7 seas, 7 colors of the rainbow. In Greek wisdom and mythology, there are 7 sages, known as the 7 wise men of antiquity. Greek mathematician Pythagoras called 7 the perfect number. And for many people, it's their lucky number. In Roman mythology, the number 7 appears in a few ways, including the names of 7 hills and 7 kings of Rome, and in association of the number with the Roman goddess Minerva, who is symbolic of wisdom, justice, law, victory, the arts, trade, and strategy. She's also a goddess of warfare, which is interesting considering how we have Mars supporting Cancer right now. But with Minerva, her warfare is all about strategy rather than violence or overpowering, as we might think of Mars. And on and on and on. I'm sure you all can think of other ways that 7 shows up in the world and the significance that it holds. The point of all this is that all of these, this loving Cancer energy, which, by the way, Cancer is a cardinal sign, so it's all about starting things, taking initiative, leading, symbolized by the Chariot, which is all about movement and the number 7, along with the support of forceful Saturn and Mars, who are working together for a change. The sky is the limit, or maybe not the sky, maybe further out into the stratosphere. Like I said earlier, think big. And like Norman Vincent Peale said, shoot for the moon. Jimmy also says that the intentions we set now will have a long, long shelf life, and I love this. So sure, these next 2 weeks will be a time to really focus on this energy starting on July 5th. But then whatever we have done in that time to make our desires, goals, as they apply to our writing, known, not just to ourselves, but others. I think letting them be known to others is very important. We'll continue on and on and on. And with all this planetary support now, we will have the support to carry them through. So follow your soul's purpose. If you're here, it must have something to do with writing. Take a look at where you are and where you want to be, and let me know what you'll be focusing on for this new moon cycle in Cancer. As always, I send you mad writing mojo. Happy writing.